On this day in history, December 13th, 1577, Francis Drake set sail from Plymouth. Now why is his journey significant, you ask? Because Sir Francis Drake, as he became known, would circumnavigate the world on his sailing ship, the Golden Hind. By doing so, he would become the first Englishman to enter the Pacific Ocean, until then exclusive Spanish territory. Drake set sail from England. He traveled along the West African coast and crossed the Atlantic Ocean to South America. Traveling further and further south, he would eventually reach the southern Cape, Cape Horn. Drake and his expedition would cross the Strait of Magellan. The strait was named after famous explorer Ferdinand Magellan, whose journey we discussed earlier on this channel. After crossing the strait, the 3 remaining ships sailed into a violent storm. The storm sank one ship and forced another one to return to England. Drake and his 1 remaining ship sailed on into the Pacific Ocean. And you have to keep in mind the Pacific Ocean at this point was solely Spanish and to a lesser degree Portuguese territory. An English privateer entering this territory was unheard of, so for Drake and his crew the fun was about to begin. By preying on coastal Spanish towns and settlements while sailing further north, Drake and his crew gathered large amounts of plunder, even managing to capture a Spanish treasure ship. This plundering spree would go on while they traveled further and further north, eventually even reaching California, where they made bay, Drake's Bay. Drake left the Pacific coast and headed southwest into the Pacific, eventually reaching Indonesia, or what would become modern-day Indonesia. Here they would go on to trade with the locals, adding even more valuable cargo to their loot. Though by this point in time the journey had taken over 2 years, and Drake and his men were eager to get back to England. And so they set sail again, ready to head home. However, their ship, the Golden Hind, became caught on a reef and was almost lost. It took the crew 3 days to get the ship going again. They had to wait for favorable tides and also lose some weight, so therefore they dumped a lot of their treasure overboard, probably to their great regret. However, the remaining spoils, and there were plenty, made a lot of money for the crew and investors. The investors had a return of about 5,000% of their investment, making them incredibly rich. Francis Drake too became very, very wealthy. He was knighted and left with the title and fame of the first Englishman to circumnavigate the world.